Next on Mason Street.
during the Cold War. Most people arrived by boat. Ships from all over the
Don't do
world
that, Aaron.
trying to get into the park.
Not on your face.
Estimated over 700 ships piled up along the coast during the first 6 years of the Cold War. Now look ahead. Golden Gate Bridge. Situated underneath that arch, you'll see a building. Seeming small beside the bridge. Big with Fort Point was completed in 1864. Good car with a narrow mouth of the day. Camping San Francisco by the fort. California's immense wealth of gold and silver against intrusion. However, no intruders ever came. Every other fort around the bay. Never. Today, park rangers are cool civil units. Give comfort to the Fort Deer. Su atención, por favor. Estamos acercándonos a las turbulentas de Golden Gate. Por favor, siéntese y sosténgase firmemente. No use las escaleras. El capitán anunció cuando se hace un desastre nuevo en el parque. described was far from easy to accomplish. Imagine working day after day in the cold, in the fog, in the rain, on major construction projects. Experience had shown that one worker usually dies for every $1 million spent. The budget for the bridge was $35 million, but Joseph Strauss was determined that 35 lives would not be lost on his bridge. A safety net was fabricated and suspended below the worker, and although 11 men did die during construction, 19 men fell into the safety net and were saved. Those 19 lucky men formed a very special club. It's called the Halfway to Hell Club. Of the 11 men who lost their lives during construction, 10 of them died in one accident when a 10-ton scaffold fell and tore through the net. The Golden Gate Bridge was completed in less than 5 years, May 1937. Let the world know exactly how he felt.
The Golden Gate Bridge, the bridge which could not and should not be built, which the War Department would not permit.
Such an unpleasant that they changed their minds. It was now the perfect place for a military group, and eventually a federal penitentiary. It was a time when gangsters were becoming heroes to people. The government needed to send a message that crime did not pay, so they created Alcatraz, the very last stop in the country's prison. A place to send the worst criminals of all.
Yeah, my name is Leon Whitey Thompson.
Our number was 1465.
1865. I was a man that had total hatred and envy. I hated anything that walked the crawl on this earth. And when you got a man like that in prison, you gotta get rid of him. And that's what they did. They shut me out.
These were hard men, kidnappers, bank robbers, killers, men so dangerous that when the first batch arrived by train in 1934, not one was allowed to step down onto free soil. They simply loaded the train cars, one by one, onto barges, and floated them out to the island with the inmates chained up inside. Rumor was that if a man died on Alcatraz, his corpse would leave the same way, stone cold death. But it changed. With men like these, you could never be too careful. The building you see on top of the hill was the inmate's new home, the Alcatraz cell house. One described it as a tomb of living souls. Some would stay for a year, others for 20 or 25 years or more.
Bridges in the world. It can be argued that this is one of the relatively few places in the world where a beautiful man-made object and a beautiful natural setting combine to create something greater than the two parts. Okay, so that's okay, guys. I'll keep talking and sharing some information with you guys about the bridge. In addition to the beauty of the bridge, there's a tremendous feat of engineering, right? So construction as well as civic pride. So it's quite an accomplishment. So.
Quiet, please.
So yeah, a lot about the bridge here, guys. So thanks. Stats here, guys. When opened in May 1937, it had the longest single span of any bridge in the world. So quite an engineering feat. Distance between the towers, 4,200 feet or 1,280 meters. Entire length of bridge is 1.7 miles, right? And you'll get a chance to walk all that. Towers rise 746 feet or 227 meters above the water. They were the tallest bridge towers in the world, a record held until 1993. I think a bridge in China surpassed that. Roadway is about 220 feet or 67 meters above the water. Water under the bridge, 375 feet deep or about 114 meters. So yeah, quite deep there at the bridge. Now the bay, you've got some fairly shallow areas there for the majority of the bay. The bridge weighs 840 million pounds, 382 million kilos, heavier than the Empire State Building. If you've ever been to New York and seen that massive construction, imagine that, just that bridge surpassing the weight. The main cables of the bridge were the largest ever made. Each of the main cables is slightly more than 3 feet thick, or about a meter. So that's a massive amount of wire there. Made out of 27,572 individual wires about the thickness of a pencil. If all those wires were stretched out, would total 80,000 miles, 129,000 kilometers, and would circle the Earth 3 times at the equator. The amount of concrete used would build a 5-foot sidewalk from San Francisco to New York. The suspension bridge is designed to move with the wind, in fact, and earthquakes. That's why they went with that design. What do you have in San Francisco? You got wind, especially there at the Golden Gate Bridge, and you got earthquakes, so that was the best we can still do, honestly. Golden Gate Bridge can swing left or right more than 27 feet or 8 meters in any direction. That's kind of scary to think about. You ever see that? I think it was the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. There's footage of that. That's from the 50s or 60s. A bridge that got caught in 100-mile-per-hour winds and just went just completely destroyed. Road can move up and down by as much as 6 feet, or 6 feet up, 11 feet down. So that's and so it can sway. Name one of the 7 modern marvels of the world as voted by engineers. The color and name, guys. The color is actually international orange. It's not gold. Okay. Orange was chosen because it was the primer color on the steel during construction. Right. And people saw that and went, well, gosh, that's a good-looking color. So they decided to go with that color. U.S. Navy, though, suggested the bridge be painted with yellow and black stripes to enhance visibility for ships. So if they went with that, it would look like a big yellow jacket or B or what have you. Okay. Across the Golden Gate there. Any particular spot is repainted approximately every 10 to 20 years. There's like used to be this rumor that it took 7 years to paint the bridge. They went back and forth. Not exactly true. So they paint it where it's needed. But any particular spot within 10 to 20 years repainted. They have a constant crew on that. 34 painters, probably not working today. 34 painters and 16 iron workers all work on the bridge. Of course, they may be working today if they need to. Why name the Golden Gate? Because the bridge isn't golden. Nothing there is actually golden colored. It's named after the Golden Gate Strait to the Pacific. Okay, that's the entry of the San Francisco Bay of the Pacific Ocean. John C. Fremont. I may not have heard that name before. He was known as a pathfinder. He was a big explorer out here in the West. And when the United States claimed California, John C. Fremont claimed that he had command of everything out here, and he was wrong. And he got court-martialed, and they hauled him all the way to Washington, D.C. and put him on trial because of the shenanigans he pulled here. But his name for the Golden Gate was stuck in. It reminded him of the harbor in Istanbul called the Golden Horn. So that's how it got its name, named by John C. Fremont. And one of the great examples of Art Deco architecture, right? So heavily influenced by that. A bit about the history that's for the bridge. The first proposal for a bridge came about in 1872. Okay, so a long time ago. Began to be seriously discussed in 1916, and a Chicago engineer, Joseph Strauss, he would be chosen to be the chief engineer on the project. Many roadblocks to even start work on the bridge. You see that bridge, I'm like, well, who wouldn't want that? Well, people didn't know how it was going to turn out, you know, because the view is quite stunning before there was a bridge there, so people did not want to muck up the view. But also, guys, a lot of heavy hitters opposed that. They had to navigate 2,300 lawsuits. 2,300 lawsuits before they could even start building a bridge. It was opposed by counties north of San Francisco. They didn't want the bridge. They didn't want the traffic. Opposed by the U.S. Navy. The Navy the Navy might have had the best reason because they said, well, you know, what about if we need to what if we build bigger ships? You know, we may need to, you know, are you going to be able to build a bridge that high, or what if the bridge collapses and it closes off the bay to access? And then opposed by the Southern Pacific Railroad, who opposed it for money reasons, they ran the ferries here, and they had the all the money sewed up in transportation across the bay. So work could not begin until the early 1930s. Oh, and another one, the technology didn't really exist. Okay, so they had to invent a lot of stuff to just get the bridge created. Support began to grow though in the early 1930s. Increased automobile ownership. Okay, so auto clubs here in California advocated for that. They also advocated for more roads in national parks and scenic places, and so automobile owners they lobbied hard for this bridge. And also, guys, it became a popular idea for a project because you had the depths of the Great Depression going on, and this would create good-paying jobs for hundreds of people. And now you got this. You got so the lawsuits are cleared. People are accepting this. All you need now is what? You need money. Okay, you got an idea. You've got a you're creating the know-how to build this bridge, but you got to have the money. And the money to finance the construction of the bridge was spearheaded by A.P. Giannini of the Bank of America. Now, a little story about him. Giannini and the Bank of America, he was a second-generation Italian. His parents immigrated from Italy. And he ran a small bank before the fire. But in 1906, when the fire broke out, Giannini, there's looting going on in the city, and he was determined to get his money out of his vault. So what he did is he loaded up this big, huge fruit cart that was typical, or vegetable cart that was typically pushed amongst the streets by Italian fruit peddlers, and he loaded all his money in this this fruit cart and covered it up with vegetables. Okay, and he got out of Dodge, so he got out of San Francisco with all his money, and he just looked like just some kind. He put on a hat and just looked like some kind of fruit peddler. And as soon as the fire was over with, and they're talking about refinancing, just financing building and construction in San Francisco. There's many other banks in San Francisco at that time, but the vaults are still so hot that if you were to open them up, it would have consumed all the paper in there, would have messed up the
Welcome to San Francisco.
Touch machines too.
That's crazy.
This way. But we don't know where we are. We're here in Paris again. Welcome to Paris.
Paris, excuse you.
Welcome to Paris. Welcome to Italy.
Balik na tayo. Diba?
Mom, which one are you gonna say? Paris or Italy? Mom, when I